So I'm sitting here with the man that called it a while ago, Jonathan Constantine from the Republican Overseas Hellenic chapter. You called the Iranian strikes, Jonathan, and thank you for having us back.
Well, Alex, sometimes it's a little bit frustrating to be always correct, and I'm not saying it in an ostentatious way, but our East Med Strategic Studies Institute has been proven correct time and time again, and this is one of them. We said from January, end of February. It turns out that the last day of February, Saturday evening, had been selected, and the program was just pushed back a few hours. And it goes to show that many of the people who were trying to make predictions and undermine the strategic alliance between Israel and America were not just wrong, they were dead wrong.
Why do you think they were dead wrong?
Because they assumed that the ploy the GOP and the Trump administration was using to misinform and redirect our opponents' attention to didn't exist. The Trump administration played a fantastic diplomatic game of chess, and it managed to convince a lot of people that this strike would not happen. But it was ready to happen. It was set. Many people, especially those who were funded by Qatar, were dead set against the military strikes and were sowing discord in the American public and trying to misinform about the true potential and objectives of this strike. And I'm going to be quite specific. Carlson was adamant that the strike wouldn't take place, that Israel was trying to lead us on into a bad pathway. But all of this had been settled with Trump and Netanyahu months and months before. It was just a matter of timing. We had to give the Iranians the opportunity to kill the negotiations. I mean, there was even a shouting match between their representative and Witkoff on Friday. So you could understand the negotiations had ended then. Actually, they had ended long before because Iran was just playing for time. There was no way the Iranians would accept any of our terms. And there were three terms. A, don't build a nuclear bomb. B, don't have any ballistic missiles in order to carry that nuclear bomb. And C, stop funding all the proxy powers that destabilize the region, including Houthis, including Hezbollah, and many others, Muslim Brotherhood. So it was a message. We were right as to the scope. And here's where we're going to take it a step further today, because it's not over yet. It won't be over soon.
Just the beginning.
It's the beginning, and there will be boots on the ground. But the boots on the ground will not be U.S. The boots on the ground will be the people who are living this situation. It will be the Iranian opposition. It will be the Kurds. And it will be Israel. And much to our surprise, it will be the common coalition of the sultanates, including Qatar. And now Qatar is faced with a huge dilemma.
That's very odd.
It's not odd. It was part of the gambit. It was part of the strategic plan to separate Qatar. There was an axis of evil. Iran, Qatar, Tehran, Doha, Ankara. By separating Qatar from the other two partners, because the two partners are still aligned, Ankara and Tehran. I mean, Turkey was one of the only 10 countries that sent condolences for the arch-terrorists' demise. So by separating Qatar, forcibly. And, you know, we didn't do it. It was their allies that did it.
Hmm.
It wasn't us. We had nothing to do with the strike of Iran on Qatar and the others. Actually, we pulled out all the personnel from our bases, basically making them non-functional. So they weren't a military target. They were just a symbolic target. Not even that, because, I mean, if you empty out an air base or a naval base, it's nothing. It's just
Sticks and stones.
Sticks and stones, exactly. So what the Iranians did is, well, we'll get into that very soon. What they really killed all their alliances, save one, Turkey. But we'll get into that a bit later.
Okay, so we saw a bunch of hits happening. We saw the Iranian leader being taken out first day of war.
Yes, that was, we didn't expect to have that happen on the first day of war. We were expecting that it would take a 5 or 6, but we have serious intel from inside the government. And don't forget, the Iranian regime is riddled by operatives of Mossad and the CIA. President Trump and Bibi Netanyahu went public, and we declared that anybody who helps us now won't face our wrath later. And well, the Qataris shouldn't be surprised, because they were the ones who paid all the Syrian military humongous amounts of money. It started from $500 to soldiers to $50,000 to generals. Well, they know how it's done. So basically, we've done the same thing in Iran, and it will at some point crumple. But having said that, beware. The war is not over. It will pass onto the ground, and it will be exported.
I was going to ask you about that, because last time we talked, you mentioned a lot of foreign cells across the world and your fear for
Yes.
potential terrorist attacks.
I'm going to be quite precise, and this is to warn people around the world what they have to be afraid of. Now, what happened is, when we decapitated the Iranian leadership, we basically took out the entire government. There is no interim government, but there were standing orders. Now, the way the Iranian regime worked and works is based on the assumption that, yes, foreign power may take out all our leadership. So there are standing orders to middle and low level personnel that, in case that it's like the doomsday device kind of thing. If we're left leaderless, you're going to proceed with our plans. And the first plans we saw was to attack certain targets by missile, now these missiles and these drones will very soon run out, because for two reasons. One, it's a matter of stockpile. And the second, they're Israeli jets over Iranian skies, taking out those ballistic missiles, and mainly their launchers, because the Iranians only had 350 launchers. Now they're down to 100. It takes about 6 hours to refuel a launcher once you've set it into the firing position. It's an easy target, and within the next 3, 4, 5 days, they'll have none. So they'll have no way of delivering those ballistic missiles to their targets, even if they were stored in underground bunkers, because you can't fire a missile from underground. They don't have the technology to do that, because, and also, if you do that, there's a vulnerable, because you have the firing position. I mean, the hole, the actual hole. It's easy to locate, take it out. So they'll be falling back to plan B. And we saw that today in the morning. It's 2nd of March. We saw that the Hezbollah in Lebanon started striking from yesterday, 1st of March. We will see the same thing happening with Houthi and the other cells. But bear in mind, once those are destroyed, don't forget, we still don't have a government in Iran, and we don't have to have a government in Iran for these orders to then all the other cells all around the world will awaken.
Activate.
And these cells are in every Western country, and including the United States.
What are these cells?
These cells are Iranian and Shiite, but also Sunnite organizations that have been, that we call them sleeper cells. So there are two levels. There's what you see and what you don't see. So these will be organizing acts of sabotage, terrorism against Western targets, because we have to explain something that Muslims know, Westerners don't, that the Shia sect is based on martyrdom. I'm not going to analyze Sicily, but their whole concept and belief is around martyrdom. So for a devout Shiite, it's a glorious way to die. And there are many radicals out there, and they have orders, they have the money, they have the capability, they have the instructions, and they will be hitting soon. Now, having said that, the two attacks that happened in the United States were not part of this. These were just ordinary Shiites going bananas. You'll have things like that. I'm referring to the murders in Texas and the New Jersey Turnpike. You will have many more of these, because both in Europe and in the United States, there are hundreds of thousands of crazies who are ready to continue the desperate fight and their way to martyrdom and whatever they think they're going to get by doing this. So yes, it's there, and it's quite present. The danger in Greece as well. I'm sure you were going to ask me that. Yeah, their cells. They're here. They recently performed a terrorist attack on the 15th of February, a murder. Actually, the Greeks had been warned about this and did nothing. And this is, again, a warning to Greek authorities, but all to European authorities, even stateside authorities. Be vigilant, beware. Be aware that there will be retaliatory hits by the sleeper cells all around the world.
Do you think they're ready for it? I remember when I was in Erasmus, and I did my Erasmus in France, in Toulouse specifically, and it was during peak period of ISIS, and there were soldiers outside with guns protecting the city. Do you think Western authorities are ready and or are willing to face this again?
They're neither ready nor willing. Why aren't they ready? Because they don't have the culture to and the knowledge and the sharing of information, like with countries that are used to this, like Israel. In Israel, there are terrorist attacks all the time. The Israelis know how to deal with it. Europeans are just not used to it. They've suffered horribly. I mean, Bataclan, that was with guns, but the attack doesn't have to be with guns. It could be with a car. It could be with a knife. It could be with
explosive.
It could be with two bottles of gasoline and a cigarette lighter. It could be with vitriol. It could be with anything you can imagine. Homemade weaponry. The road to martyrdom doesn't require expensive equipment. It can be just basic stuff. Take 2-3 infidels. So obviously there are more targets that are more in danger and harm's way than others, like synagogues, political entities who are aligned to Israel. Obviously, American targets here. Tourists wearing an American flag, or even a local wearing an American flag. Crazy Muslim sees them and knifes them. So obviously our recommendation to Americans, but even locals, leave the T-shirts with American flags at home for the time being. It's not that you're being... It's any disrespect not wearing an American, but leave it on, because things are dangerous. And the thing is,
They're also very easy to pinpoint. I'm sorry to interrupt
Yeah.
you because Americans, I've seen them. I've talked to a few that
Mhm.
they just come to Greece and they're very cheerful about it, very
Yeah,
vocal
well,
about it.
I would suggest say you're from Britain or something.
Right.
The great Islamic
Make
Caliphate
Caliphate of
of
Britain.
Britain, and then nobody will touch you. But having said that, okay, then we come to the other point. That's if the Europeans and the question: are they willing? Is a country like Britain ready to stamp down on Islamic terrorism? Well, no,
Britain
no.
is run by Islamic terrorism.
Exactly. I mean, I was quite shocked to see in Virginia, in the United States, a Muslim organization call for prayer, a Muslim prayer in a mosque 25 miles from the U.S. Capitol for prayer for Ali Khamenei. Yes,
Did not know
but
that.
yeah, but I wasn't at all surprised to see it in Manchester. I was watching
That is not
2CT.
surprising.
I was watching 2CTV. It was great, great intel coming from there, and they were calling out to patriot Britons to write to their MPs, make a big demonstration to have the IRGC and the IRGC related organizations being declared a terrorist organization. And by the way, that's another thing that we have to step up in the United States is declaring the Muslim Brotherhood, that's a FTO, it's Foreign Terrorist Organization, which, by the way, was something that originated from our chapter about 5 years ago.
That's awesome.
Yeah, well, we ask on Secretary Rubio to move on ahead and get it done faster because you see now that even countries like Qatar are abandoning the narrative of the Muslim Brotherhood.
Can I ask you something? You mentioned before that these sleeper cells have the financing and so forth and so on. So I would assume that intelligence agencies, whether you call it Mossad or I don't know, US, the FBI or the CIA, they would be able to track a paper trail and find these people before they do a proactive strike.
Well, it's a matter of mindset. Under the previous administration, the Biden administration, there was no will to prosecute such terrorist cells because it was part of the woke narrative.
Right.
It was climate change and Muslim rights. It was and LGBTQ, which of course is a crazy mix. But anyway,
An Islamic they them with no morals as long as there's
so
trees
it
being
was very
planted.
hard to get prosecuted. The only agency in worldwide that was working against Islamic terrorism was Mossad.
Mossad. Do you think
And
they'll interfere in EU nations and Western nations?
I'm certain that they will. It's just a matter of time. You see, the level, as I said before, the Iranian terror structure is decentralized, which means that the cells don't have to receive an order to do a strike. They can. Actually, this works in the Secret Service world. This works differently. A sleeper cell will stay in slumber many times if it does not receive a specific communique. For instance, there's sleeper cells. This is very common in the intelligence world. There's a sleeper cell, and it operates on the assumption that every month you have to get a specific message which say, don't hit. If you don't get the message, you hit. So that's the delayed. We'll have a time delay. So these sleeper cells at some point will not receive the communique from the Iranian government because the Iranian government is all dead. And they won't receive a message from their medium level commanders because they may be all dead too. So when they don't receive, they'll hit. And they have the planning, they have the infrastructure, and it's been going on for years. So it's a matter of time.
Do you think immigration refugees, immigrants, illegal migration, all of that have something to do with all of this?
Well, of course, we were begging as a West. We were begging for this. All this that happened was of our own doing. We let the gates open, and we let hell come into our countries. And now we're reaping what we sowed. And that's why in America we said zero immigration and only legal immigration, and a very big ban on immigration from countries that have a known terrorist background.
Well, it's a very honestly, because I was looking at the US a long time ago, very questionable in terms of migration, because you had the floodgates open for a very long time for people coming in, and they weren't just from Central or Latin America. They
Oh
were
no,
flying
no,
from
no,
other regions
no,
and
no,
going
no.
through those
It was
places.
it was every nation in the world, and they were unvetted ISIS terrorists coming in by the thousands.
One would argue that legal migration was harder to
Yes.
get into the US over illegal migration.
Oh yes, I know documented cases of people came in. They said, "Oh, I'm not going to worry about that. It's so easy to go walk over the. Just get yourself to Mexico. Just walk over the, and that's it. And then go get a free Social Security benefit.
So how do you find these people?
Oh, we can find them. Oh, we can find them. We've already find them, and the reason that. The reason you see all these riots is because the opposition still wants to move on ahead with this illegal occupation of our country, and it's the same thing all around Europe. Europe is not Europe anymore. It's not the nation countries of Europe. It's what we call the Kalergi plan. Is I'm not going to get into it, but it was old 1904 theory, which at some point was incorporated to the Nazi ideology that Europe has to become a homogeneous. And that's why they use immigrants to help destroy the identity of the nations in Europe.
Okay, fine. But on one side, you see the US now, right? And you see ICE doing the job that they should be doing. You said there are ways to find these. I assume the secret services will either be informed by Mossad or are doing their own due diligence for these type of people, terrorists. And then on the other side, you have countries like Spain, where they're legalizing 500,000 illegal immigrants, and countries like Greece that haven't done anything. How will these nations combat
Greece
these
is
problems?
a champion of legalizing migrants, and actually, this has been accelerating over the past years. It was said that the previous government of Syriza was awful, but then again, they were in the middle of the first migrant wave from Syria, and the numbers have doubled under the new. It's now at about 150,000 per year, and that's a huge number.
It is a huge number, and there's no background checks, as far as I understand.
And this is we're talking about 150,000 who are being legalized as residents. These are permits that are issued to people who just come to milk the social services of this country. They don't come here to work. They just come to live as parasites, destroy the health service, destroy the educational system, and just live be on the dole. Exactly like they do in most countries.
Well, I'd argue it's already destroyed, and they're just throwing
Well,
an extra stone there. But
yeah, I can relate to that. But among those people that come, there's a well-documented percentage of people who come for to set up cells. Is it 5%? Is it 10%? I'm not gonna give the actual number, but it's a big percentage. And these are resident armies available to the beck and call of their handlers.
do you think it's going to be one or two events, or do you think it's going to be something that's going to be dragging on for a long time?
It's going to have it's going to escalate because it'll start small and then it depends on how things go in the on the Iranian front, whether the people helped by Kurdish allies and other minorities that will be rising up. Now, of course, if there's a total regime change in Iran and the first, these sleeper cells will be exposed by the new government themselves. Well, there'll obviously be records, and we know already. But I don't expect the regime change to happen quickly because the airstrikes are great. We can get rid of the heads. But as I said, with this decentralized Iranian system, the war will be spread westwards. And when I mean westwards, I mean both in European and American soil. And I mean, we saw it already. And it'll also be exported towards a major area of contention, which is the East Mediterranean. That's why we saw the hit on Cyprus. There will be definitely a hit on Greece at some point.
You think so?
It's a matter of time. I don't expect it to be with a ballistic missile because the stockpiles, as we said earlier, the ballistic missile will run out. The launches will be all destroyed. So it's very odd. I mean, the only country that wasn't attacked from the Western neighboring countries was Turkey, and that says a lot. And
break it down for us. What does it say?
Well, it says to me that there is a pact between those countries. Having said that, okay, there was a pact between Kuwait and Iran. But with Turkey and Iran, it's different because Kuwait may have been a powerhouse in terms of military, in terms of economics, but in terms of military, is a big zero. And whereas Turkey is different. Turks have a big military, but the problem is that they have a huge ambition. And I would like agenda. I would like to remind of the story of Icarus and Daedalus. Well, Icarus wanted to fly too high. And what happened? He fashioned himself the wings.
Wax wings.
He went too high. Sun melted him and he fell down and died. So the lesson that the Turks haven't learned and the Iranians didn't learn is if you aim too high, you'll eventually fall. And the higher you rise, the harder you'll fall. And at this point, Turkey has been is occupying at least two countries in its vicinity, Syria and Cyprus, and it has aspirations to take over all of Syria, has aspirations to take all of Cyprus. It has aspirations to take over half the Aegean, and so forth.
Jonathan, if you were a painter, the image you have just painted for us is not particularly beautiful. It's very dark and grim. And how do you think countries like Greece or Cyprus what can they do to combat this?
Well, it's very simple. Get gumption. Yeah, get gumption. Stop being the kid on the block that gets beaten all the time. They have the power, they have the strength. Well, not Cyprus, but the combined. And they have a willing and friendly ally in the area, Israel. And between the three of them, they're unbeatable in the area because Greece has the Navy and the Air Force. Israel has the air power and the ground forces, and mostly intel. And what does Cyprus has? Cyprus has
a naval base.
It's a huge floating, non-floating aircraft carrier, which is unsinkable. There's nothing. It's very hard target to kill. So, having said that, President Trump and us at the Republican Party, we're begging Greece to become part of the 3+1 military alliance. We're not talking economic alliance only. The benefits would be huge because you had America as a party, you had the Greece, Cyprus, and Israel. with a common area of defense, which would range from the Adriatic Sea to the Red Sea and practically in the Middle East, and would cover and help our new allies now in the sultanates with huge economic power. So stop pussyfooting around, sign not a small deal. Just go full ahead. Make a mini NATO. We had asked from the Greek government specific items on the agenda to start the 3+1. We flatly refused. Why? Because it didn't fit the EU narrative. Well, now that the times have shaped, I think it's high time Greece, Cyprus, and Israel sign that, make this a mini NATO. Don't keep it tight, but allow cooperation with other powers in the area, such as Egypt, Somaliland. Go out and have a Greek naval base in the Arab Sea. That would be brilliant. I mean, the infrastructure is there. I'm here available to assist the Greek government, and that would have optional extra that the government of Somaliland would be willing to give Greece access to huge mineral deposits. And that would mean a lot of money, both for Somaliland and for Greece and for Israel and for Abu Dhabi, the countries that are involved. Now, on the other hand, what you have, you're going to have a shrinking Greece, a shrinking Cyprus. We know, obviously, that Turkey wants to take over all of Cyprus, as they want to take over Israel. Turkey dreams of Jerusalem as a new point. And here I'm going to get a little bit technical. Well, no, not technical. I'm going to become like a university professor, and I'm explaining the strategic goals of Turkey. The strategic goals of Turkey are linked to Islam. There's seven. Traditionally, there's 7 points of interest in the Islamic world. I'm going to start from higher to lower. Mecca, Medina, Cairo University. Why? Because
Islamic scholars.
The Islamic scholars, and every 4 years they gather there and they issue the worldwide fatwas. Then the Temple Mount, then Damascus, then Constantinople, and then the other two were Baghdad and Damascus. I think I mentioned Damascus.
You did.
Okay, so now Turkey has. Obviously they have Constantinople, they have Damascus. They want the rest.
They tried with Cairo with the Muslim Brotherhood.
They had it for a little while.
Yeah.
Didn't work out, thank God. But they're going for the big one. Yeah. They're going for. That's why Iran hit Saudi Arabia, because the crown jewel is Mecca. I'm not going to get into whether Muhammad lived there, Muhammad or whatever. I'm not going to get into that now. That's a very deep theological stuff. But politically, they want all 7. And if they get it, God beware.
The way you're making this sound is that Greece has the potential. You've given and by you I mean like the Republican Party, the U.S. government has given it all the tools and resources it needs to be the country it could be, and for some reason you're knocking on doors that are not opening up for you.
The reason is that the Greek political elite is very much in league with the Turkish political elite. You see business deals flying between various Turkish businessmen who are really part of their shadow system, and Greek elites, even politicians, and because the Turks are smart enough, they use economic power, soft power, but they also use military power in older times, it wasn't like this
Mhm.
because it was actually the opposite. Greek companies were very heavily involved in Ethniki Trapeza, the National Bank of Greece, owned I forget the name of the bank in Turkey, not Ziraat. I think Ziraat.
Ziraat now owns
No,
most
no.
of Greece.
Yeah, they owned the National Bank owned Ziraat. Now it worked
It's
the
the other way
opposite.
around.
The Greeks sold their interest in Ziraat bond for pennies, and now it works the other way. Ziraat Bank owns half of Thrace. There are many tools. The question is the Greek political ecosystem ready to forego their personal gain and think of the gain to the country? And having said that, they have to think Greece first, make Greece great again type of thing. They can't think of their pockets all the time.
It's very optimistic. Do you think they can? Because I don't think they can.
Well, the problem is that soon there will be elections, and I think that I don't think they can trick the people anymore, the Greek political system. And I'm not focusing on one political party, the government. It's a whole lot of them, the whole shenanigan. They're corrupt as hell. I mean, you can't get them more corrupt.
Let me ask you something, and I'll come back to the
Yeah.
corruption of the Greeks. If Greece is incapable one way or another to protect Cyprus, do you think Israel will step up to the game and do it themselves?
Cyprus, yes. Cyprus is very important for Israel because it's a the projected power right in the middle of the Eastern Mediterranean. Yes, the Israel.
Both for Lebanon and Turkey.
Yeah. If you control Cyprus, that's why the British had the bases there. And this is back from the era of the early Suez Canal. If you control Cyprus, you control all the neck of the woods. So yes, Israel will help. Under the current situation, I doubt that Greece will be much help. I mean, we saw today actually that only 2 airplanes were sent down to, or they should have sent a whole squadron and base it permanently there so they can assist Israel. And Greece should make its navy available to Israel and vice versa. As the 2 navies, because the Greek Navy obviously is stronger than the Israeli Navy, the 2 navies in conjunction could end every Turkish aspiration to becoming a local powerhouse.
I want to become devil's advocate for a second. And the counter argument one would hear for that ties very much in the beginning of our conversation with terrorism, that if Greece openly does that, then it becomes a target location for potential terrorists.
Well, that's what they have the police for. They pay. Greek taxpayer pays huge amounts of money for security services. Well, that's what they're there for. Root out the terrorist cells, deport them. Actually, Greece has never deported anybody, even the criminals. I mean, I'm a lawyer. I know it. The criminals.
They deported Öcalan.
Well, that was a sweet deal. They didn't do it for free, I'm sure. But coming that, they don't even deport the criminals. Somebody comes here in Greece and commits a crime, goes to jail. After this, he can
walk out.
He can stay. Actually, some people, because they get out on after having served only partial sentence, they know they can. And they have to appear at the police station every month, and they're not deported. And they actually do a small crime. Stay a couple of months in jail so they can at least stay 4 or 5 years afterwards on that status. No, they have to not only have a policy of zero new migration, they have to deport every and single one of all these immigrants who are living off their social security system and draining their country's finances.
You're asking for an iron fist, and this ties a lot more into the corruption that you previously mentioned. Do you think Greece can never have an iron fist with its current political class?
That's true. It's very hard. That's why, yes, but Greece is a democracy. Greece can choose to have a government that represents the Greek people and not the Greek oligarchs.
You also have like 45% of the people that don't go out to vote because they see no option of who to vote.
That's why they don't. Greek people don't abstain from elections because they agree or silently approve the government. They abstain from elections because they're certain, because they voted 2 or 3 times for politicians. Politicians turned the tables around, did exactly the opposite. And then people said, well, why should I vote since I'm not being heard? Greece needs a politician who has values, and one of the first values should be promises made, promises kept. Oh, Trump said that. Oh, yeah.
Do you think we would benefit if we ran a little bit our elections the same way the US does it?
No. Elections in America, unfortunately, because of the electronic system, that are very corrupt. And
I was talking about the primaries, not the
the
voting.
primaries, yeah, would be very interesting. There are a couple of political movements that have discussed the idea of doing primaries. Mrs. Cristiano suggested it, and it's interesting. I don't know. Greek politicians usually inherit the title.
Yeah.
But even it could be rigged, obviously. I mean, because these are in-party, and we had elections just for the leaders of parties here in Greece, but it was kind of like it reminded me a little bit of North Korea.
Well, let me tell you something, and this is my experience alone, and it only reflects me, right? So I got involved with municipal stuff a lot because I was younger and foolish. And I've had people from one of the 2 main parties, the current party, come up to me 5 years later, so like 2 years ago, and tell me that I know for a fact that these elections were rigged. So again, this reflects just my experience and my conversations with these people. But it's a common phenomenon in Greece.
Well, rigging an election is a 2-tier operation. First of all, who is the candidate? That's not really rigging it, but if a candidate is appointed by the leader of the party, so that kind of forces the voter to choose, to make a choice that's already been made for him. It's a little bit like North Korea.
Yeah.
Now, the second point is pressure, psychological pressure. It's not rigging elections, but we saw it, for instance, in England with the forced family voting of the Muslims, and it was funny. And to lighten up the conversation, they voted Green because supposedly they were friends with the Islamists, and after voting. This became viral on the internet. One of the voters saw the local Green candidate eat pork. He was furious, and he was on the internet saying, "If I had known, I wouldn't have forced." I mean, this is a confession. I wouldn't have forced 8 members of my family to vote for you. So, rigging elections is a multi-tiered operation.
It is.
It's not just changing the numbers. That might be a little bit difficult, albeit if it's using electronic, it's very easy. But on paper ballots, it's hard.
Well, I would debate that. I think it's equally as easy on paper
I'm not going
ballots.
to. I've served as a representative of the on elections, almost every election cycle since I was 30 years ago. So. You can imagine that's quite a few. And I also do elections in various other organizations like labor unions, things like that. And there are ways to cheat, but some of them that don't involve actual fraud. And
Well, I think, and this is the only thing I actually agree with communists, is that it doesn't matter who votes. What
It's
matters
exactly
who
who counts the
counts the
votes.
votes.
And it's really not only who counts the votes, it's how do those votes actually, how do you formulate? Because, for instance, if you control all the media, and imagine if the media was still controlled by the liberals and we didn't have the internet, we'd still be in the woke madness.
If we tie this up back into our previous point, so you have a political class that inherits the titles with no experience, no work experience, just a bunch of fancy degrees from fancy universities, bought and paid for.
Absolutely.
And they come back here and they inherit a title, and they have the tools and resources to manufacture results that are in their favor. How do you expect some form of change, whether it be here or Cyprus or, the
Well,
playbook is pretty much the same for
yeah.
every country.
True, but now that they've lost the monopoly of information, and with the example that's being set by Donald Trump and their GOP, which I represent here in Greece, things are changing. People are not left with the idea that they have no option. There are options now, and we see it all around Europe. Some countries it's easier, some countries it's harder. For instance, with it's a huge Muslim population in England, it's harder. Same goes for France, but that doesn't mean that change isn't coming, and people want change because they're fed up with what they see.
You mentioned Garcianu previously. My question to you doesn't have to do with that. My question to you has to do with mostly, do you see people like her across every party? Like, do you see people with?
Yes, yes. Maria Cristiano, I don't know if she's going to do a party here in Greece. She's definitely getting a lot of backlash from the political elites, which is logical. I mean,
Well, it's a system that will clash with anybody that doesn't agree with them.
exactly. Well, it's not a matter of not agreeing.
Playing ball with them.
Not and even that. People like Maria Cristiano say, "You're rotten. You're corrupt. We have to get rid of you." That's exactly what the GOP said.
Mhm.
It took time. It took patience. We even had the setback of the stolen 2020 elections. But the will of the people came through. It's the same thing here in Greece. It's the same thing in other countries. Romania, stolen elections. They did it there through the corrupt judicial system. But things are changing. And I think the Iran case will be a catalyst too, because there again we have the ultimate suppression of the people's power. 32,000 dead, and the politicians in Europe are just shutting up about it. The 32,000 dead do not exist for them. They're going to pay for it. They're going to pay for it dearly.
From both sides, I hope on one side the people, the locals, that will find out that their governments no longer represent them, and unfortunately, on the other side, what we mentioned previously, terrorism. Those guys will come swinging at them
Oh,
too.
they're coming for you. They're coming. Definitely. They're coming. And being complacent about it, you have to be proactive. Root out that rotten tooth before it's too late, before it spreads the infection to the other. Be proactive, and timidity never saved the people. I mean,
Yeah, but Jonathan, I mean, sorry to interrupt
Yeah.
you again, but in order for you to do that, you need to dismantle. I don't want to sound like a radical. You need to dismantle a lot of people from key decision making positions across the EU, both in local governments and in the EU institutions, because these people are not on the scale as the Republican GOP is, for example, and they don't see eye to eye. It's I think it's what you mentioned last time we had this interview, where they said that this is just a passing phase.
Yep, that's what they said. That now with Iran, they realize that we mean business, And not only that, they'll see it in the midterms too. The American people is 100%, well, okay, maybe no, 100%. I'd say 85, 90%. So that's a huge majority. They're crazies, they're Muslims, Muslim radicals. Not all the Muslim. No, I think in terms of the Muslim population in the United States, half are completely for us. I mean, you see what they're doing. Muslims are doing to Muslims here. So it's not that.
Same thing applies with Latinos, for example. A lot of them are Republican.
Yeah, and why are they? Well, they
Common sense.
They know best. It's a matter of common sense, and it's funny that the radicalized faction of the United States society has two key points: what I call white liberal trash, white rich liberal trash. Rich kids that
I know one of them.
Yeah, I know several of them, and radicalized Muslims, and many of which have it all. I mean, Ivy League schools, and they're so bored with their life, they don't know what to do with all the money that they turn radical.
Logical, very logical.
Yeah, I feel sorry for them. They're probably more mental cases than political.
On a day-to-day life basis, I wouldn't particularly pity them because when it comes to living life,
they go to mommy and daddy, and
they do live a life of privilege. You know, it's not the hustling mentality that anybody else might be raised on. It's a privileged life from the university all the way to the career jobs, key positions.
If you don't have to work for a living like us normal people, and mommy and daddy pay for everything, you can afford to go to Hollywood and play radical. I mean, that's absolutely bonkers.
Just like Mitsotakis said, he cannot imagine living on 800 euros. And I was thinking at the beginning of my career, where I came back to Greece and I was working for that amount of money, and I was like,
no, you were making good money because most of the rest of the people were making 500.
Yeah. So I was like, how can this man potentially lead me if he doesn't understand that? And not just me, like people that are still making that money, for example.
Well, French Revolution and Marie Antoinette. People have no bread. Well, if they have no bread, they can eat cake. That's this mentality of the ruling class. And you notice that the ruling class never has people who actually are fighters. They all avoided their military service. They played crazy. Oh, so they were crazy enough not to serve their military
but they're good enough to lead.
But they're not crazy when it comes to leading the country. Well, anyway, having said that, let's leave them at that. I think the Greek people have realized, and we see it in the polls, that it's time for change. And the same thing applies for the diaspora. The diaspora,
they are my hope.
Diaspora. Well, actually, I'm very worried on, especially in North America, with the disruptive role of certain elements within the diaspora. But that will leave for another show that will focus only on the problems of Greek diaspora, because we've written very extensive reports itemizing all the problems there, and I'd like to have it in front of me so we can discuss it, and you can read it before we do the show.
On that note, I just want to say this: the eastern side of the U.S. with the diaspora really worries me. The western, not that much.
We'll get into that on the next show, we promise.
Thank you so much for your time.
It was great having you again, Alex. And thanks.
Thank you.
And dear viewers, actually, you should be doing this because you're interviewing.
No, go ahead. Floor's yours.
Okay. It's today, the 2nd of March. Please pay attention to all the tips we gave you for Americans. Unfortunately, the U.S. Embassy is giving no information. For those of you who are Americans or Europeans, don't wear insignia or things like that. Don't be loud generally, because you never know who might be lurking around the corner. We're in difficult times, and difficult times need tough leaders, but they also need responsible citizens.